Have you ever been out camping and the one electronic you want to use or need to use isn't charged or you forgot batteries? Yeah, me too. That's the very reason we bought this. If you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, how is this thing actually held up over 2 years of daily use from a family of 4? Is it worth it to buy in 2024 or 2025? And how does it even compare to the competition? Because the market is stiff right now. So full disclosure, I paid full price for this thing almost 2 years ago. I bought it a few months after it came out on sale for about $800. And since we got it, we have used it almost every single day. Most of the time, it just lives in our Toyota Sequoia or our teardrop trailer and is plugged into our 12-volt fridge. Ever since we started camping and overlanding as family, I've been on an absolute mission to find the best power bank or solar generator. I looked at all the power stations, and this is the one that stood out to me. So during its daily use, it's powered 12-volt fridge for almost as long as we had it, but we have used it for almost everything in our garage and while we're camping. So we've used it on an electric kettle, diesel heater, to power drone batteries, camera gear, laptops, tablets, phones. Almost anything you can think of that we own that is an electronic, this thing is charged at one point or another. I've even used this thing to power most of the tools in my garage. So let's get into some of my favorite parts about this. Over 2 years, this thing has not had a single problem. It has worked flawlessly. From everyday use to probably hundreds of discharges, we haven't had a single glitch or error, and it has continued to just work even if it's freezing or hot. When it's cold, it doesn't have as much power, which is completely normal for these power banks, but it just continues chugging along. The vast majority of the time, this thing is in the garage with Sequoia, so it is subject to some temperature swings here in Colorado. We've had it down to about 7 degrees in the garage and up to 112 in the Sequoia, still using it to charge, and it hasn't had a single problem. Most of the power banks have all the ports along the width of it, which makes it really hard to fit in small spaces. We have a particular space in our trailer that is really tight that we want to put this because we don't want to install an inverter. So we'll just throw this in there, plug it into the batteries that are already in the trailer, and this will function as our inverter and charge all our phones. The EcoFlow also comes with probably the best power bank app that we've used. It's really convenient to throw this in our Sequoia, have it plugged into the fridge and tablets, and be able to see what the state of the charge is from the driver's seat. I haven't had many problems with the app, and it definitely seems to be the best one on the market for checking your voltage, input, output, and load on the system. I really like that it has the 1800 watt output from the AC outlets, because that means I can run all of my power tools and almost all of our kitchen tools, including the electric kettle that we use every single camping trip. So, is this perfect? No, it is not. I don't know if there is such thing as a perfect power bank, but for our needs, this has met the majority of them. So let's get into some of the things that I wish they would improve on, or that they might have already. One of the things I would have really liked to have in this is to have it be a true UPS. We have a lot of power outages here, so it'd be nice to be able to plug this into our computer while I'm doing video editing work so that if the power goes out, I don't lose all my work. Sadly, it's only a 30 millisecond response time, so you won't be able to use this as a true UPS. It is just not quick enough to flip it on when the power goes out. I also don't really like the fan location. They're located here on the sides, so while the ports are in a perfect location to fit this in a tight area, you still have to leave some room for the fans to keep it cool. There's a lot of times where we block the fans and it does get fairly warm. It's never given us a true problem. It does make me worry about the longevity just because we're getting it fairly hot and we're putting in very enclosed spaces. I've also noticed that the AC outlets, if you put something with a really small load on it, it's not going to detect it on the monitor or the app. We have a baby camera that we've plugged in a few times while camping, and the app and the display will show 0 watts being used, even though we know it's on and functioning. By default, it's set to shut off after 30 minutes if nothing's detected. So if you're gonna use something with a small load on the AC inverter, make sure to change that to like 12 or just do not turn off, because if you don't, it'll shut off by itself because it's not detecting a high enough flow to register in the BMS. We've also noted that if you just leave the inverter on, it does drain the battery fairly quickly. So anytime you're running AC devices, keep it on when it's running, and then the second you don't need it, try to turn it off because it's going to consume some of the power just sitting there. For example, yesterday when I plugged this into the desk in the AC outlet, it was at 73%, and today, about 14 hours later, it's at 51%. So there is a parasitic draw on it just having the AC inverter on, even though I haven't used the desk. Here's where things get interesting. It is almost 2025, so there is some stiff competition. With this being a 2-year-old solar generator or power bank, the biggest competition that I found is actually the Delta 3. It just released a few weeks ago. So you're probably wondering, is this even worth buying, or should I just get the new one?
The new EcoFlow Delta 3 has some fantastic changes that you might want to look at before purchasing one of these.
So the Delta 2 has an LFP chemistry, which the Delta 3 also has, so there's no changes there. And that's great because that is the best chemistry that you can get on the market right now for the price. While the Delta 3 is the same cell chemistry, there are a few notable changes. The first one being that they're stating you can get an extra 1,000 discharge cycles before you're at 80% capacity. I'm not really sure how that's achieved, but it must be some software changes in the new BMS on that new system. One of my major gripes with the Delta 2 is that it only has one solar input. It's totally fine for the vast majority of situations, but when we're overlanding, I want this plugged into our solar panel while we're driving and an alternator charger. So on the new Delta 3, there's 2 solar inputs, each rated to 500 watts for a total of 1000 watts input. So double what you're getting on the Delta 2. And they finally listened and moved the fans. So rather than having the fans on the side like this one, they've moved the fans to the front and back so you can actually fit the thing in tight places, which is, I believe, the best feature. So if you don't need to cram this into tight places, like a trailer or a vehicle, the Delta 2 works absolutely perfect. If you do need to fit it in some really tight spaces, you might want to think about upgrading to the Delta 3. With the fan relocation, they also changed where the external port is. So this one has it on the side, so if you're gonna get an extendable power solution, you're gonna have to plug in the side and it's gonna take up room right here where you don't want it. The new one has changed that so it's in the back so you can actually get the spare battery and charge it. Speaking of AC, it just kicked on the fan because it was getting warm from doing nothing. So there's an example of the AC inverter staying on. And finally, but not least, it sounds like they made the new one a true uninterruptible power supply. This one is too slow for it. They're saying the new one is less than 10 milliseconds, which theoretically should work for most applications. If you want me to go ahead and try the Delta 3, let me know in the comments below and we'll look at buying one. So with all that being said, they made some notable upgrades, but is upgrading from the Delta 2 really worth it? The Delta 2 right now comes in at $459 on Amazon. You can find new ones from $459 to $500 every single day. The Delta 3 that just released is on back order and costs $700 on sale. So it's going to be $200 to $250 more than the Delta 2 for the same exact capacity. The difference is you're getting more solar input, different port locations, and you're getting the fans relocated. So you have to decide if that is worth $250 to you. For us, we're going to keep this as long as humanly possible and just use it until it completely breaks. We are interested in looking at the Delta 3 to throw in our trailer because we have a really tight spot that it needs to fit in, and this one gets a little too hot for our comfort. So we might get the Delta 3 and throw it in the trailer and leave it there, and then use this one primarily for our camping or for when we're going overlanding with just the Sequoia. My honest opinion is that this is the best power bank that you can buy under $500. I wouldn't hesitate to buy another one if I needed a power solution just like this. If you're interested in buying one of these EcoFlow Delta 2s, I'll have an affiliate link in the description that gives me a small kickback. I'm not affiliated with EcoFlow in any way, but I do think that Amazon has the best price, and buying on their site is actually more expensive than just getting it through Amazon. And if you're prepping your camp rig to go camping with your family, go ahead and watch this video right here where I talk about how to go camping with your family. Yeah, this thing's been great. I use it all the freaking time.